speaking to a group there. So
nice.
I did come and speak. Hold on, let me text her back. I did come and speak in Hannah a few weeks ago. So hold on. I can't do two things at once. Let me.
You're fine. It's okay.
She said it's still spinning. So you let everybody in?
Yeah, everybody's in. We've got everybody that's requested one. Have her jump out there. And yeah, here's another person coming in. Okay. Maybe she jumps off and tries to redo it again.
Yeah, let me try something else.
Sorry, guys. Technology.
I'm trying a different email address for her. Sorry, I'm texting and we're trying to figure it out.
It's okay.
So yeah, we have the Oklahoma Donkey Dairy. We're about 30 minutes from Oklahoma City, and we're in Oklahoma County, and we do not, as far as I know, have wind turbines coming here or, industrial solar, but as we've seen everywhere else, people don't tend to know about it until they come home and have a few acres of their land cleared and they didn't sign a lease, but their neighbor did. And that's actually happening in Oklahoma. So, it's not something that people are aware of, and that's probably one of their tactics. They put a little notice in a little local paper that nobody reads, and then they go and sign a bunch of leases, and
that's where we're at right now.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and they are supposed to do a public meeting, and I don't believe that ever happened there. I have heard that the fine per day is $1,500 per day. So I think one of the things you all should take to the county commissioners and the DA out in Eufaula is say, hey, we haven't had a public meeting. We have evidence that you guys have been meeting for this many days and they've been in the district signing leases. So $1,500 a day would take care of a lot of people's roads, wouldn't it?
Oh, it definitely would.
Yeah. Hi, Danna.
Hi, Danna. You made it. Okay. I can't unmute you. You're muted, Danna. So.
There. Now can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. It's technology. No worries. But you made it. That's what matters. So awesome. So what we'll do is, first of all, thank you everybody for attending. To recap, my name is Krystal Butler. I am the chapter lead for the Southeast Oklahoma chapter of Ag Women Connect, but I am also their chief of operations. We are a networking group for women in agriculture based out of Texas, but we're national, where we've got chapters anywhere from Florida, California, Arizona, Indiana, we're everywhere. So we're essentially the hub and resource for women in agriculture to network, create community, enhance their businesses, grow in fellowship, and fight the fight for the people who need it. Raise awareness and improve this industry and just support the industry we love that's dwindling, unfortunately. I'm based currently out of Quinton, Oklahoma, and originally from Florida, and I'm a first generation rancher. So this is fun, and I appreciate y'all taking time to meet with us to talk about something really important that's impacting not only the state of Oklahoma, but it's going to be facing other states throughout the country. And with us today, we've got Saundra Traywick. Wow, I can't pronounce.
I
And
can't either. It's fine. It's a tongue twister.
and Danna Jo Shaw. So first, before we start any discussion, can you tell us a little bit about yourselves, ladies? Let's start with Saundra, and then we'll jump into Danna's story.
Sure. We are the Oklahoma Donkey Dairy. We're one of the first to milk donkeys in the United States. Our daughter got an autoimmune disease called PANDAS. That's an acronym for Pediatric Autoimmune Neuropsychiatric Disorders Associated with Strep when she was 6 years old. Long story short, most of the doctors didn't even believe in it back then. But it causes neuropsychiatric issues, and basically your immune system.
All right. So
I think she muted herself.
Yep. We lost your audio.
Is that me? Is it me now?
Saundra, we lost your audio somehow. You got muted, and I can't unmute you.
Okay, I think I'm unmuted. Did you hear anything I said, or did that go away?
We got about halfway through.
Weird. I didn't touch anything, but yeah. Okay.
Right, so nobody touch any controls. Nobody touch any buttons, please. All right. So we got your daughter's story, and
Right.
then now, how did you get into the advocacy that you're in right now?
Okay. So yeah, one of the things that we moved out to the country, we wanted to have a non-toxic environment for our family, and we needed a place to, raise donkeys. And so we very outdoor people. And one day we went outside and there was this horrific smell. And we discovered that neighboring farms were using humaner or biosolids, which is toxic. And so I started researching all that. We got involved politically, got it banned in our town limits, and ended up taking legislation to the Capitol. And I discovered that this is not as easy as what we thought it would be. And then my parents' community had wind turbines projected to come there. So me and my sisters in 3 different states all started going home and helping them get organized, helping them fight back. And then a 2-year battle, and they did get them and industrial solar banned in Harvey County, Kansas. So I already had a group that I was previously using to fight humaner, Save Oklahoma Farms and Ranchers. And I started sharing about solar and wind because I thought this is surely going to come for Oklahoma soon. And then found out, sure enough, it is. So that was how we got involved in the Oklahoma fight here.
Wow. It's crazy how we don't realize changes in one state are definitely going to slowly encroach. And now here we are fighting against it. Danna, your side of the story, give me your background and how you got involved.
Okay. Well, and Saundra just mentioned humaner, and my girls can't go outside this morning because we smell it so bad at our house right now. We've just been smelling it the last few months. I know it's something they've done in years past, but it's kind of a new thing out here where we are, and it's just awful. So
where are you located at?
We're in Chandler. We're just outside Chandler, Oklahoma, in Lincoln County. I'm from Barnsdall originally. I grew up on 300 acres. Sorry, my girls. I was going to say, so I grew up on 300 acres. Jim was from Oklahoma City. We got married, moved to the city for work, and I hated it. So I had to get out of there as soon as possible. So we came out here. We found our dream property, and we love it. But we're homesteaders. We're homeschoolers. I'm a homemaker, and you can see we're homeschooling right now. So we love to be home, and that may have nothing to do with wind turbines, except it has everything to do with wind turbines, because we found out in February that an industrial wind turbine project had been proposed just 3 miles from here. And we couldn't believe it. I mean, it makes no logical sense that that would ever be a thing out here. And so we knew we had to do something. Our representative at the time was completely neutral on the subject. This isn't a subject that you can be neutral on. And so we knew we had to do something. And so my husband actually ran for House representative against the incumbent, and he won. And the slogan of his campaign was land, livelihoods, legacies. And he ran on 3 things. He ran against green energy, he ran against humaner, and he ran against foreign ownership of Chinese land. Those were his main things. Of course, there's more. But he won, and it proved that the people in this district specifically are completely against this as well. It's a big subject, and it's popping up all over the state of Oklahoma. And we just want to do what we can to help fight that.
Awesome. And thank you for that. And thank you for, you supporting your husband in this endeavor, because he's the one in the office, but you're the one at home taking care, making sure that you can do the fight there.
Right. I have a whole new respect for people who go through this. It's the entire family that goes through it, for sure.
It definitely is. So thank you. And thank you to your husband for that. As far as this green energy that's happening. So a lot of people think green energy, they think solar, but now we've got wind turbines and we've got now humaner. What is the impact that, as you've seen on not only your land, but within your communities, that this green energy has? Like, what are the draws to it, and what are the cons against it? Either one of you can jump in.
Go ahead, Saundra. I think that's you.
Well, I wanted to touch on, we're talking about humaner, we're also talking about wind turbines. And one of the things that a lot of legislators and a lot of people have been uneducated on or wrongly educated on is property rights. So that was something that we really dealt with the humaner issue, was that they come into these communities, and typically they actually historically have targeted communities of lower income. And so with humaner, it's free fertilizer, and they get their land disc twice for free. So that's really hard for a lot of farmers to give up and pass up. So they're not telling them the side effects, the potential PFAS or forever chemicals contamination of their land forever, their milk, their meat, their produce, their water, or their neighbors. And so what's happening in Texas right now is, you can look up, this is Chernobyl, Fort Worth, Texas, PFAS, biosolids contamination. The neighboring farmer is now filing a lawsuit against the company that dumped sludge on their neighbor, because their horses are dying, their cows are dying, their fish are dying. So, and they have tumors and issues as well. So your property rights, this is happening with the wind turbines too. You sign up, you get potentially cash for a lease. They're not telling you potential for your land to be contaminated with fiberglass, hydraulic fluid, PFAS, or blade throw, any of this, fires, all of this. But when you do that, you're potentially creating problems from lack of property values, health problems, even death, which has happened with humaner as well. And they've linked it directly back to the sludge, bacteria and whatnot that are in the air and kill the kid. So this is happening with wind turbines. A man was cut nearly in half by debris or ice throw from a wind turbine. There's impacts to your neighbors that should not give you the right on your property to do something that would harm someone else, that would even harm just their property values. So I think we need to reframe that and re-educate people. Even our founding fathers wrote very clearly, James Madison, this is not what property rights are for. And really, that's what we left England for. We didn't want one large landowner to dictate to all the peasants, this is the way it's going to go, even if it's going to kill you. Sorry, I don't think that was the question.
You dived into it. It's okay. It's fine. And as far as, so Danna, you earlier stated that you're having to stay indoors right now because of the smell. So obviously, like I said, we started with the turbines, but you're being impacted by another form of green energy. And how is that, aside from
Yeah.
We lost you at the end.
sorry, is the now the fact that you have to be like indoors, like what other difficulties is this new green energy that's supposed to be so great putting a hindrance onto you and your family and your community?
Right. Well, there's so many implications of that. Even if the turbines are said to be 3 miles away from our house, we would still be able to see the blinking lights. We would still have to drive through them, and the infrasound can bother people when they just drive past them. They're on top of the aquifer that feeds our personal water system. The impact, even if they're not directly on your property, are so widespread. I mean, it's hard to pinpoint anything. When we were driving through Garfield County recently, and we saw they're the smaller ones. They have the 200 something feet turbines all around Enid. And we saw hay bales underneath the turbines. If we're buying hay from a farmer who has turbines and he's got particles that have fallen from the turbine blades in his hay, and we try to feed that to our cattle, that can have implications on our cattle, us, because we eat the cattle. There's just so many. I mean, it's hard to list everything.
And from my understanding, from the little bit of research that I did in it, the amount, not only just the outside effects, but just it going into the ground, they dig concrete over hundreds of feet into the ground just to stabilize it. That's damaging the soil, damaging the land. You can't get that back.
No.
You know, I know right now we're building our house, and just the bits and pieces where the concrete that just kind of got scattered, it's like, great, now I've got to get rid of this. And there's the grass that was under it that would have fed my cattle. You know, now it has to grow back, and it's got to get its nutrients back again, and it's going to take a while. So, and this is just on a larger scale, and they're proposing extremely large turbines. It's not just the smaller ones, it's everywhere. And I've seen also people promoting wind turbines for residential use. Mm-hmm. And farms and ranches as well, not just the big corporations coming in to try to take the power. And I think from what I'm seeing also now, they're trying to use that power for, it's not going to be for Oklahoma, it's going to be for Texas.
No.
Is that
Oklahoma
correct?
doesn't need it. We are a net exporter of energy. Oklahoma doesn't even need it.
Okay.
And what that happens for Oklahoma is an agricultural state, and it's an oil and gas state. And we have everything we need for those industries. And oil and gas is not perfect. We all know that. But we're at a point where it has become much more efficient, much more cleaner than what it used to be. But what are they doing with that green energy? When they bring that in, they're pushing those other industries out. And that's a huge problem.
Yeah, no, for sure. Wow, I wasn't aware of how big of an impact it was having. So Saundra, this one comes to you first. What have been some of the biggest challenges that you're facing in this fight right now?
I would say education, because you're really having to combat a level of, I hate the word misinformation, a level of lies that have come from this side saying that this is clean, that this is green, and that this is effective. This only works if it's subsidized by our tax dollars. Biden's Inflation Reduction Act is, a huge part of all of this, but when it's harming your neighbor and when it's harming potentially your aquifer, which in Canada, this is one of the cases that happened over there. Once they build all these, it's not just the building itself, but one of the things that they discovered there was, these piers that are going underground. And then when the wind turbines come online, and they had pristine water there, once the wind turbines started, the vibrations that then travel into the earth caused particles, I believe it was uranium, that was naturally occurring, but that had been isolated, to then disperse throughout the aquifer. And, a lot of these groups, it's so frustrating to watch them all do the same thing that I've seen over and over again, because they start out by saying, oh, we'll ask our commissioners for help. And then the commissioners say, we can't help you. Oh, we'll ask the DA for help. Oh, the DA won't help you. Oh, we'll ask, our legislators for help. And everyone's passing the buck, and no one's taking.
We lost you there. You got muted again. Not sure how
I don't
that's
know
happening.
what is happening. I'm gonna keep. I'm not touching anything. So I talked.
Sometimes if you
Part
hit
did you lose me
before,
on?
it'll mute you. Yeah.
Weird. What part did you lose me on?
So
I don't want to repeat myself.
you were talking about the particulates, the uranium particulates in the water.
Right. And so when the vibrations from the wind turbines actually start, then it disperses the uranium that was naturally occurring, and their water's not drinkable anymore. So they make them sign an NDA, non-disclosure agreement, and they also have something I believe they call good neighbor agreements. Do not sign those. If you do, you give away all your rights to fight back, sue, or talk about what's happening in your community. I talked to a woman in Texas, and she said when the wind turbines went in around her, her big beef cattle started having babies that were the size of small dogs, and they never ever make weight. She also told me that her well dried up, and she said it's probably from farmers all irrigating. Well, it didn't dry up until they started the wind turbines moving. And so she had to drill a well for another $50,000, $80,000. That was on her because her neighbors got wind turbines. And then I talked to farmers, people out in another area of Oklahoma. They said their cows don't breed back, or they miscarry if they do. And word is out now in some of these communities that this is happening around wind turbines. So they won't lease land to put their cows on. The cows either aren't breeding back or they're losing the babies.
Oh, wow. It's just having a massive effect, you know, not just environmentally, but financially, economically, because some of those farmers and ranchers need to be able to lease that land. They see a quick buck to lease to the wind turbines, but then it's just impacting the rest of the community. And they're not aware because the education is not there, just like you said.
That's kind of,
Danna,
that's ironic too. I would say typically they go for the big landowners. So to say that these are poor landowners that just had to get a wind turbine lease is usually not the case. They go and get the biggest landowners to sign first.
Wow. Interesting. And Danna, on your side of things, what do you feel to be the biggest obstacle that you're facing aside from education and public knowledge?
Well, I think our perspective of it right now is politically. We're looking at it from that angle. And Oklahoma has very few regulations on this green energy industry, and that's a problem. You know, we have a few setbacks from schools and from hospitals, but aside from that, it's kind of free game. And it seems like at this point, our legislators are supporting these big corporations more than they're listening to their people. I mean, these things are popping up all over the state of Oklahoma, all at the same time. I mean, we can't even keep up with how many are just showing up. And there's a reason for that. And it seems to be a coordinated effort. And so I think this legislative session, our legislators have an opportunity to do the right thing, and to backtrack and to help their people, their constituents who are really starting to be impacted by this.
Now that you brought up politics, and definitely that, I think it's, you know, between the lobbyists and the money and everybody has their hands in the bureaucracy. With this new administration, do you think that will definitely make an impact? Do you think we're going to have more support for fighting the green energy?
We're certainly hopeful for that. I mean, he seems to be on the same team. Trump does, and hopefully the people he puts in place will be on the same team. The problem is we don't have a lot of time. He doesn't get sworn in until January. A lot of these projects are in motion, and they need to be stopped now. We don't want to have a situation where they're grandfathered in, you know, before the money, the subsidies were to be cut off, which hopefully it will be. But this is essentially corporate welfare, and it needs to stop. And hopefully we have an administration now that will do so. And hopefully Oklahoma legislators will get on board with that too. And our local, you know, we think about federal, we think about state, but we also really need to be watching closely our local officials and what's going on there.
Yeah, our council members, our town halls, all that, definitely. And now tying into that, for someone who doesn't know how to get involved, has never been involved in politics or policy or any of that, what are both of yours recommendations for people to get involved? Like, where can they research? Where can they find out when the public notices are, like, where are they posted? How can they attend meetings? Like, what can the public do to get more involved, to start the fight in their small communities? Because it might not be in Quinton right now where I'm at, but it's already right down the road in New Follow. So what can we do as community members to get more involved? Saundra, you want to jump in first?
So I think one of the things I didn't realize even until we started Fighting Humaner was that I could actually attend a city council meeting or a county commissioner meeting, which everyone really needs to be doing. Some of these small towns don't even record them. So you're actually going to have to go and, sit there in person, or, assign someone in your community to go and do a live stream, so everyone knows what's happening. Because what we're discovering is a lot of these county commissioners have been having meetings with these companies for years, and they knew about it and didn't alert the people, which that needs to be changed. But you can go to the Corporation Commission website. It's pretty difficult to find. If you dig into that Corporation Commission website, you can find where they post wind notices, and it's very poorly done. It's organized not alphabetically by county, so you could look up your county, but by project name. So you get on there and you have to search multiple different pages. One's like a public notice page, one's an intent to build page, and one I think is an FAA notice. And you got to go through all of these and start searching for your county. And I'm literally looking up different counties in Oklahoma and doing Google searches on a pretty regular basis, trying to find more projects that they may be proposing. But I know we're missing some, and your county may be one of those. So get involved. Start talking to your commissioners. Ask them if they've had any conversations about these projects, and not just these, but battery storage, data, AI centers, lithium refineries, carbon capture pipelines. All of these things are coming, and the public is generally unaware, and that's intentional. So I would subscribe to your local newspaper. That's where they're supposed to put a notice. Read all the fine print, because they're supposed to have a notice in like a local newspaper if they're coming. Okay. And run for county commissioner. I keep saying county commissioners have more power than the president. I mean, once you start to see this, and they'll say they don't, but they do, they could stop this. The other thing people aren't talking about is transmission lines. And I want to come back to that after Danna tackles this question on politics.
Yeah, Danna, how do you think the community can get involved?
Yeah, I think Saundra answered it really well. The only thing I would add is we really need our younger people involved. Every meeting that I go to, the majority is older people, and that's great. But these issues, specifically this green energy, is going to affect their futures forever. If this stuff gets implemented, it's going to impact them forever. We really need to figure out a way to get the younger people more involved. Of course, you want to be home with your family. I get that. You have young kids. It's not easy to do. But we need everybody involved and active in this. That's all I wanted to add.
Yeah. And register to vote. And, I didn't realize this. I was registered independent because I got fed up with everything. And then I went to vote and they were like, oh, you can't vote in the primary. I was so mad. But where it really matters right now in Oklahoma, you have to be a registered Republican to have your voice heard, because these things are decided in the primary. Right, Danna?
Right. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So if you're not registered, you don't have a voice. And I had a lot of people within our Facebook group say, oh, well, I'll vote once it gets to be November. I was like, too late by then. This will be decided and it'll go one way or the other, most of these races that are really critical. And, unfortunately, what we've seen and the more we researched is that legislation that has been passed in Oklahoma over the last 10 years was paving the way for all of this to happen. There used to be a moratorium on all wind turbines east of I-35. That went away, and that's why everything east of I-35 is up for grabs.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow. But yeah, definitely get involved, register to vote. I don't think we put enough stress on our younger generations of how important it is to vote, how to, to be registered early, to be involved in the primaries, because a lot of people, the primaries, I don't have to worry about that. The big issues are come November, when in fact it's not. And it's not just the presidential election that you need to worry about. It's every annual election that happens. The smaller, the better. That's where you enact the real change.
Right. Can I say one more thing too? You really need to research your candidates as well. There was a huge smear campaign that went out against my husband, who was a great candidate. And I think that happens a lot, where people will completely dismiss somebody because of all of this junk they're getting in their mail and elsewhere. But the process really is kind of rigged for the establishment to continue on because of all this outside money and all of these smear campaigns that come against these good candidates. I don't know how many in the past that we've missed because of those tactics. And so we also need to be really careful to watch for that.
Yeah, definitely research your candidates. And we've seen it with the most recent election. There was so much just negativity towards one particular candidate and the other. And it's people like, oh, I just don't like his personality. Well, that's not a reason not to vote for the person.
Mm-hmm.
It might be not that's somebody you want to sit down and have a glass of wine with, but his ideas and his thoughts are ones that you agree with. So that should be the reason why you're voting, not whether or not you'll have, at a barbecue.
Yeah.
So
I would also like to add, we need to actually get up to the Capitol, and that means all of us. We need to organize. And, there's a farmers party in the Netherlands, and that farmers party, it's like the Republican Party. They created a farmers party, and they were fed up because they were being shut down as farmers. And now they're pretty well taking over there. And they're running people that are farmers who understand, if you don't want to eat bugs, you've got to get involved, and you've got to start protecting our farms and our ranches and supporting them on a local level on these issues. Because some of the legislation they're putting on, whether it's PFAS, they're putting in $500 million to bail out farmers that are contaminated with PFAS. This is one of the National Association of State Departments of Agriculture's big priority lists for 2024. Yet I have yet to meet a farmer who has been notified by any branch of agriculture that PFAS from human from wind turbine blades, from any of this might end up making their farm a Superfund site that they have to be bailed out by the government and their land taken.
Wow. I didn't even know that was happening. So
yeah.
That's like a whole other conversation to have.
Yeah.
There's so much. This conversation could go on for hours.
Yeah. And one of the things I think that is really great about what's happening right now, the Make America Healthy Again, Kennedy and Trump coming out and saying, and Vance saying, we're against these wind turbines. We're against, we want to have clean water. All of a sudden, it's cool to be a Republican who cares about our water and our land and our health. And I'm like, this is amazing. We all should. And we have let a certain political party take that as their narrative, when we as ranchers and landowners and donkey dairy farmers should be the ones that care for and steward the land more than anyone else. And we have been, and we need to take back that title and do it, and not let them call us environmental extremists just because we want to have clean water to drink and for our animals to drink. So that's kind of my soapbox. I'll let that go.
No, it's a great soapbox. And that's kind of why I got into agriculture, essentially, because I battled health issues for years. Nobody could figure out what was going on with me. And then my husband and I kind of went down the rabbit hole of, where our food was coming from. We saw a Netflix documentary that scared the ever living bejesus out of us. And we're like, what? This is what's going on. And then I just started getting involved in having certain tests run and realizing certain things. And now, lo and behold, I have an autoimmune disease, and I manage it with my diet, with my food, but I have to be very careful what I put in my body. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, the only way I know I'm going to control what goes in my body is if I buy land and I raise my own animals and my own crops on there, because I know where it's coming from, because I can control that. People shouldn't have to have that be their only recourse for being healthy and having quality meat and quality fruits and vegetables, because not everybody can afford 20 acres of land or 5 acres or 2 acres. They need to be able to trust in their food system. And if things like this are happening, where you're having all these chemicals and particulates being dumped into the soil and into the water systems, no matter how clean you think you are, you're really not, because the guy 10 miles down the road is impacting your water here. or impacting the farm that feeds your community or that ships to Kansas, Oklahoma, Nevada, everything. So everybody's impacted. We think it's a smaller scale, but it's actually a much larger scale. So I'm glad that you ladies are raising awareness and starting to, fight the fight that people need to hear, and I'm glad that now I know and I can fight alongside with you. What are some upcoming dates or events that we need to be aware of when it comes to votes, meetings, stuff like that you see?
I can hit that one.
Go for it.
Tuesday. Okay, so we had a big loss in Oklahoma. Everyone's paying attention to, I'm trying to get out of the glare, sorry. Everyone is paying attention to what's happening federally, and no one's paying attention to what's happening in local politics. So we lost the Senate to one of our more liberal Republicans, Paxton, who has voted for a lot of green energy things. And he actually wrote a resolution last session that essentially tells you the direction they want to take our state. And that resolution is Senate Resolution 30. Look it up under Paxton, and I shared about it on my page, but it's paving the way for transmission line corridors, transmission lines, all of these things. And basically called any of us that would stand up against it radicals. And
give me 1 second. I'm not sure what's going on.
Yeah. So it called anyone radicals that would stand up against it, and essentially said they wouldn't even let us use legal recourse to slow down these projects. And this letter, this resolution, was supposed to be sent up to our U.S. Congress. And basically, I feel like handing Oklahoma on a silver platter to the green agenda. Very disturbing. And now he is in charge, the speaker, the Senate pro temp, Paxton. On Tuesday, they are going to vote for who is in charge of the House. And Hilbert is one of those that's up for being Speaker of the House, and Tom Gann, Representative Tom Gann. So I am encouraging everyone to call their legislators and ask them to vote in this secret vote, which I think is wrong, but to vote for Representative Tom Gann. When I'm looking up legislation on these green agenda things, consistently over the years, and now some things have flipped in the House, so I hope we'll have more that are voting the right way. But everything I've seen, Representative Tom Gann and Representative Rick West, if they voted no on something, oftentimes by themselves from the House side, it is a bad bill. So you can kind of go and look up those bills on legiscan.com and start looking at who consistently voted against this stuff and who voted for it. And a lot of them will say, well, I didn't know. Well, I'm sorry, that's your job to know. So I'm no longer giving them an out and an excuse for voting the wrong way when this is something that will affect all of us. So Tom Gann, I would ask your state House representative to vote for Tom Gann, and beg him if you have to, because this is really, really important for Danna's husband to be able to get this legislation through, and all the other good ones that have recently been elected, and the good ones that are now aware that this is a problem who weren't before. I think that Tom Gann is the right choice.
Definitely get out there, call your local offices. I appreciate you bringing that up, and especially because of that specific day. I did notice that post that you put on. Danna, do you have any dates that now that you have a little bit of an insider scoop on what's going on and things that we should be aware of and things to pay attention to?
Not that I can think of specifically. My husband gets officially sworn in on Wednesday, so for us personally, that's a big date. Other than that, we just need to be contacting our legislators. We need to be paying attention to what they're doing. We have kind of made a commitment to be transparent. Jim has with his dealings at the Capitol. I think people just need to be more aware overall of what's going on.
No, for sure.
Thursday, I'm going to be coming to Eufaula and speaking there. So if anyone wants to hear all the gory details, I would love for them to join us in Eufaula on Thursday.
Definitely send me the information and I'll post it on our page and I'll share it with our community to get, the word out for you. At this time, I'd like to open the floor for anybody that has questions. You can unmute yourselves and go ahead and present any questions that you have to either Saundra or Danna.
Can I ask a question?
Of course.
Neanne Clinton, I see you're on the call. Can you possibly share a little bit of what you are fighting? We didn't talk about transmission line corridors. That's really a big deal. People need to be aware that there is, and this is why that resolution from Paxton is really disturbing. There's a federal eminent domain corridor proposed for across our entire state, 18 miles wide, that cuts across the whole state. And potentially our federal government could be eminent domaining all of the land in that corridor. And no one's aware of this. It's a huge swath of land, and there's multiple corridors proposed across the United States. These are thousands and thousands of acres that could be taken for what they're calling is transmission line corridors. I'm concerned they're also going to take it for the green energy stuff, but nobody really knows. We can't get straight answers, and that's a problem. I'd like Neanne to talk a little bit more about that and what they're happening to deal with in Garfield County if she's up for it.
Sure. Thank you so much. Well, we obviously, have all kind of fumbled around and found information about this transmission corridor because, like Saundra was saying earlier, they really don't want us to know about it. The comment period for this 18-mile wide transmission corridor that's cutting through Garfield County closed on June 24th. And most of us found out about this comment period after it was closed, right? And so now we're trying to play catch up. We've been fighting a 2,500 acre solar complex in Garfield County for 20 months now. And so when this transmission line corridor stuff came up, I was kind of like, well, hopefully I'll have time to get to that in a minute. And the minute has passed, and here we are. And so the Payne County commissioners had a special meeting a couple weeks ago, and now we have asked our Garfield County commissioners to hold a special meeting to inform the public about this corridor because nobody else is going to inform them. And we have one commissioner out of 3 that we can count on to stand with the people. He called for it. The other 2 said yes, they would host it. And so what's going to happen at that special meeting is we're going to inform the public about what we know. We're going to encourage landowners not to lease. We actually have 2 lines coming through here. One of them is called the Heartland Spirit, and one of them is called the Cimarron Link. The Cimarron Link is not part of the NIETC, but they are already leasing in our area. They are actually filing suits against landowners if the landowner refuses to allow them to come on and survey their land. So I was contacted by a rancher who received a letter from Cimarron Link saying, we're going to file a lawsuit because you have restricted access to your property. And those suits were actually filed on November 7th. We have those filings. We have not seen the actual petition yet, but I have also spoken to the attorney for this landowner, and that attorney is going to speak at our special meeting. When he spoke to the attorneys for the company, he said they were very arrogant. They said that they were going to file a lawsuit against his client and that they were going to do whatever they wanted to. And he said, okay, well, you know what? If you think that's what you have to do, you do it, but do not step 1 foot on my client's property. So this is a private electric corporation that does not have eminent domain powers, but they are bringing lawsuits against private landowners for denying them access for surveys. So we will have more information after the special meeting on Monday. All the information that we can share is what we've learned from landowners. I have a copy of a lease agreement that shows that you are giving up every single one of your rights. They have the right to go over, under, through, across. You're giving away every single right to your property if you sign this lease, and they have the ability to remove structures. And at and once they build the line, if they determine that it's not safe for somebody to live there, then they will kick you off of your land, because we know that there's going to have to be a safe zone where people can live. The other thing that we found out about these transmission lines is they are high voltage direct current, which I have got to get educated on electricity, but most of our transmission lines are AC. These are going to be DC lines. They're going to require huge towers, not just the towers that we see. I mean, I look out my window right now, I can see probably 6 transmission lines, but they're going to be extremely large transmission lines to carry this direct current, high voltage. And one of the graphics that I've seen, you cannot farm around them. You cannot raise animals around them. And so it will remove, yet again, another way to remove productive farmland out of production, and reduce the food that Oklahoma can produce to feed our children, our grandchildren, and any future generations.
I actually had someone send me a photo of the transmission line pieces laying on the ground, and they thought it was a wind turbine. It was so big. And then they realized it was the base of a transmission line. And they said it was, it's hard to tell in the photo the diameter of this thing, but they said it was large enough to drive a truck into.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And that was Oklahoma. So everyone really, this is something I would like to impress. We need everyone to video and record everything they're watching and seeing. And if someone comes on your property and, it doesn't have your permission, you need to record these interactions with these people. And then, send them to us. And, we're trying to start groups around the state. Like if you start searching on Facebook, no wind turbines, and then your county name, you might already have a group. No wind turbines, McIntosh County, no wind turbines, Lincoln County, no wind turbines, whatever your county is. And if there isn't one, you might need to start one. And then unfortunately, we probably also need them for solar. Like Meanne, you have a group, and I see Robbie McComas that she leads up a group in Lincoln County. So you've got.
Well, and one of the other things that we are starting right now, and we've started now, obviously it started with Payne County, the Payne County commissioners themselves stated every one of the counties that are involved need to band together, and even the counties that aren't involved. We want to form a coalition of county commissioners to fight this. So we have 18 counties in this corridor. So one of the things that I'm doing and encouraging other leaders in their communities to do is to get their county commissioners to one of these meetings, so that every single county can band together that has county commissioners that will stand to protect the citizens that they were elected to protect.
Yes. And also on a congressional level, we need to ask our Oklahoma congressmen why, frame it better than I will, but why haven't they supported Missouri Congressman Josh Hawley's Protecting Farmers from the Green New Deal Act?
Yes.
Because that would be critical to stop a lot of this. And where is Oklahoma? I mean, why are we the ones sounding the alarm? Why are people finding out about this on Facebook? And why are then our state representatives and senators claiming that they found out about it on Facebook?
Right.
Something's upside down here.
I think that we can trust Representative Burkeen to join in with the people. Unfortunately, we have been very disappointed with Representative Lucas in Congressional District 3, which is the largest district in Oklahoma and has the most farmland. He probably has not even heard of it. And I think Mark Wayne Mullen has become aware of it, but Representative Burkeen would be the one that I would contact, because I would trust him to actually stand with the people.
All right. I think we need to start a list of green versus red flags.
Yes.
And, because we need to know, we need to be informed. And I'm going to be the first one to say, I'm not the most politically savvy person, but I think I'm going to have to be. Was not aware of this, but thank you ladies again for fighting. And I'm so sorry that you're going through this, and whatever I can do, whatever we can do to raise awareness, and, you know, let us know, and we'll definitely spread the word. And I'm actually going to reach out to one of our members she's an attorney. She's based out of Wyoming, but their law firm is solely to fight for farmers and ranchers.
That's amazing.
So I will definitely be reaching out to get her input. She even got banned from TikTok for 10 years for just clarifying the Chevron doctrine and why it was important that we got rid of it. And because she was just educating the public. So she's my resource to go to for things like this. And I'll definitely be reaching out to her, see how, you know, what she suggests that we can use to start on this fight on our end. Anybody else have any questions? Because I know Saundra is tight for time today. Any other questions? Okay, Cass, you have a question. Go ahead.
Sorry, I'm not used to using this app. Thank you for having this meeting. I just had a couple questions. When people fill out or like send this to your representative surveys where you just kind of fill in your name and where you live, are those as like, do those work as well as like, I guess I've never called a representative and ever gotten anybody on the phone. So like, is it worth my time to send that out and say, you know, just fill this out with your personal information, like this standard form saying we don't want this? Or is it better to call and talk to somebody or send a personal email?
You want me to answer that one? You need to send them an email and call them, and then probably go on up to the Capitol and meet them. And nobody wants to do that because we're all busy. But I actually went up there because they were running legislation to make it illegal for us to advertise our donkey milk, and talked to the legislator that was running this, and his assistant said, well, people sent emails and they were being rude, so I just deleted them. I said, well, let me see those, because I don't think those were actually my people. And she said, well, I just deleted them all. So, you know, unfortunately, we have legislative assistants that are up there just pressing delete on our emails and not even sending them over to the legislator that we elected. And I'm not saying that's happening across the board, but I hear that once and it really ticks me off. So I had another state senator, very powerful up there, say to me, well, how did you find out about this legislation that would have destroyed our farm? Most people don't know about legislation and laws we're passing until we've already got them passed, and laughed. So we are asleep at the wheel and we are not paying attention. And we could be watching these movies instead of podcasts, and not movies. It should be a movie. It should be a horror movie, but we could be watching these, you know, committee meetings. They're online. We can watch them from home while we're doing something else and pay attention. I mean, one of the things I found out by listening to a meeting online was about hydrogen. I had no idea what that was. And turns out it's coming for Oklahoma. So, you know, we all need to be doing this. We need to, you know, because it's a lot of time. But I would say sending an email is not going to cut it. I recently ticked off a legislator because I asked him, I said, can I share your contact information? And later he got pretty irked because a lot of people were texting him and calling him and asking him to vote the right way on this upcoming vote on Tuesday. They shouldn't get annoyed with us if we're reaching out to them. They are our representative. So if they're annoyed that the people that elected them are reaching out to them, that's a problem. And that's one of the reasons I am so happy that Danna and Jim ran, because they are truly there to serve the people, not to serve themselves and not to serve lobbyists.
Okay. And when we go up there and we talk to them, we say, you know, do you A, even know about this? B, you know, if you don't hear, like, here's the meetings that are happening that you should know about. C, here's the websites of, you know, the Facebook groups that we're in, all this evidence, and then just hope that they attend, or like record what they say they're going to do, or just stay on them.
All of the above, but I would also get organized, because one of us going up there, which we saw, they don't tend to listen. But if we all wear red and we have a day that we're all going to have to go up there and, I don't know, drive your tractor up there and park it in the parking lot, we might get a little attention. I might bring a donkey or something and let it mow the lawn. But, you know, really we need to get attention. Oh, and press is huge. Press is huge. If we put public pressure on them, call the news, call everybody you know, get bigger and bigger and bigger groups so that we have a voice. Because right now, you know, they don't care if we can't get them unelected, which now I think they're starting to pay attention because the people are paying attention. And lobbyists don't get them elected, the people do.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you for your question. It was a great one. Robbie made a comment, education on campaign contributions and how PAC money works in our elections. Jeff McClumbus. Yep.
Danna, you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I hit on it a little bit when I was talking about the smear campaign against my husband. There's so many who have their hands in this who are not even in our state. Some of the mailers that went out against Jim came from an unknown PO box with an unknown origin. They call it dark money. It can come from DC. It can come from anywhere. We have to have good organizations on our side, and we need to be educated on the ones that aren't on our side. They just impact our elections so much. I think more than what anybody really understands until you really look into it. Jim's race actually set a state record for amount of money that was spent in a House race. He was outspent 4-1, and he still came out on top, which that doesn't usually go that way. So his election really kind of, it was completely unorthodox in the way that the outcome was because the people got behind it. This is such a huge issue that can really impact the way that our state government could operate. If people start to really become aware of what's going on and they're paying attention, these PACs, these lobbyists aren't going to have the same type of influence that they have right now.
Mm-hmm. And really, podcasts and interviews like what you're doing today are pivotal because people aren't paying attention to the news anymore. The big news, they don't believe it. They don't believe what they're hearing because many of them are unfortunately bought. I mean, I have reached out to the news stations about a lot of these projects, and it's not a story they want to cover. So, you know, what you're doing and the voices of the people are so important. I mean, I loved in Jim's campaign towards the end, the people each, you know, we had 60-year-olds, 70-year-olds. I think there were even some 80-year-olds that did little live videos saying why they were going to vote for Jim on their Facebook page. And it was so incredibly touching. And it wasn't a paid thing. It was just people that cared. That has such an impact more than any flyer you get in your mailbox. You know, it's the people that are speaking out and saying, this is why I'm going to vote for this person. I met him. I believe in this person. I believe they are speaking the truth. And that's important. People want the truth and they want honesty. I really think what will happen in the next 2 years in Oklahoma, if our legislators don't start doing the right thing at the Capitol and our commissioners on a local level and our DAs and ADAs, it will be very obvious to everyone if this becomes California. And that's the track we are on. We will look like California. We will be blanketed in solar panels. We will be blanketed in wind turbines, hydrogen, CO2 pipelines everywhere, and transmission line corridors. So if these guys want to ever be reelected, they need to start towing the line because it'll be blatantly obvious to everyone exactly where they stood.
Mm-hmm. So. Oh, well, thank you. I know you need to jump. Has one more question.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So on one of the videos I watched, they were saying the implications of having these huge structures, these batteries out here where we go through humongous droughts and tornadoes and all of these things that like we can't control even if we tried. I mean, it's just, how is that not a glaring safety concern for our entire state when we didn't have a drop of rain for the whole month of October? All it took is one cigarette to light up what could be a statewide fire. I mean, just those. Are there more information about those specific like fire hazards and tornado damage hazards that we can make flyers out of? I mean, that seems like so obvious. We can't control the tornadoes.
Mhm.
Yeah. I am going to have to run off, but you've got amazing people on this right now to answer a lot of questions for all of you. And I'm so excited that everybody cares and that everyone's getting involved. So thank you for having me on. And I hope you guys continue the conversation.
Thank you, Saundra.
Thank you.
Can you put some light on that one, Danna?
Yeah, I'll say something. If you have a flyer of information, so during Jim's campaign, one of the big things that we did was door knocking. You go door to door, talk to your neighbors, just have a conversation. And that's how we met so many people. And it was a great experience. If you had something like that you could take with you to go door knock, to talk to your neighbors, educate them, even before these projects come in, if you can get somebody's ear before these things are even introduced in your community, that can go so far to prevent them from taking hold and coming in the first place. So yeah, I mean, any kind of information, any kind of pamphlet that you could have like that would be great.
Awesome. Did that answer your question, Cass?
Kind of.
Yeah, no, I think that having visual aids is definitely a plus. Not even that you have to leave anything with somebody, but just, to see the damage. I think that would be a really easy sell, to even someone who's not caught up in politics and, who cares if that's so far away? Well, a wildfire so far away in the conditions that we have, a lithium wildfire is a problem for everybody involved.
So Cass, I can kind of answer your question also. So like I said, we've been fighting a 2,500 acre solar panel complex with a 250 megawatt battery storage system will be included with that in Garfield County. We have raised the concerns to the environment and the fire hazard over and over again with every one of our legislatures, our county commissioners, our city commissioners, our emergency management, our state fire marshal, our representatives, our senator, local representatives, local senators. We have told them that if there was a lithium battery fire in Garfield County, where it sits is a volunteer fire department. Our firemen do not have the equipment. Garfield County does not have anywhere near the amount of water it would take to fight a lithium battery fire. And it has fallen on deaf ears because the state of Oklahoma does not have any regulation to protect the citizens. And that's where we sit with wind. That's where we sit with solar. And that's where we sit with transmission. Because the state house and the governor of Oklahoma have invited these people in. The legislation is, behind because nobody has written any legislation to protect the citizens. But the governor of Oklahoma is the one inviting them here. And the district attorneys are the ones telling the county commissioners they can't do anything about it. So if a fire lights off, then the people that we can blame are the elected officials at the Capitol, not Danna's husband, obviously, that have done nothing to protect us, and the governor for inviting them in so that he can get carbon credits and get money from carbon credits and say that Oklahoma is one of the leading green energy states, and the citizens are the ones that pay for it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Monica, you have a question? You need to unmute yourself, Monica. I wouldn't be able to do it for you. There you go. You there? Okay, Kim, you're up next.
Howdy, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. I am in Payne County, and I just want to say thank you so much for having this meeting. I did join a half hour late because I just found out about it. So my question is,
recorded.
say what?
We recorded it, so you're good.
Yeah, that was going to be my question. I saw that it's recorded. Where can we find this recording? Because I would love to put this on our Payne County page, our no transmission line page.
Once it's done, what I'll do is I will create a YouTube link and then I will post it on the Ag Women Connect Southeast Oklahoma page, and you can pull it from there, or you can just send me an email, info@agwomenconnect@gmail.com, and I can get it to you directly.
Excellent. Thank you. And I didn't even know about your group until today, until just now. So
Awesome.
thank
Well,
you so much.
for being here. I appreciate it. All right, guys. Well, if we're good on today, if there's no other questions, I would love to let Danna get back to her family and homeschooling and her busy life. But I appreciate everybody attending. Danna, I appreciate you taking the time to be here and helping educate. I've learned a lot, and now I've got a lot of notes taken of things that I need to do. And if there's any websites we need to follow, your husband's campaign pages, anything, just shout them out to us and we'll make sure to include it in the notes.
Sure. So Jim has a Facebook page. It's Jim Shaw for state representative. Of course, Wednesday, I think that will change to an official page, but we'll make that announcement there. But you can scroll through there and see things about the campaign. You can see different information. There's just all kinds of stuff there. And he has a website, shaw4ok.com. And you can see a little bit more about him there as well.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Well, again, thank you, everyone. Like I said, this is going to be recorded. Once it finishes processing, I'll post it on the Ag Women Connect Southeast Oklahoma page on Facebook. And I hope to see y'all involved and get to know more of all your stories and see how we can make some impact and some changes here in Oklahoma.
That's great.
Thank you. Have a great day, everyone. Thank
Bye.
you. Bye-bye.